Welcome to the Dysfunction Junkies podcast. We may not have seen it all, but we've seen enough. And now, here are your hosts, Chrissy and Carrie.
Welcome, Junkies. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Chrissy.
And this is your safe space. And I can't believe we are at the end of March. Spring is around the corner.
Yeah, well, it's officially supposedly started, but we never, does anybody ever count that? It never feels like it.
No.
So, are we going out like a lamb? Who knows?
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I am ready for good weather. That's all I have to say. So,
yeah.
You guys have recorded 20 episodes now, so this is your
21st episode.
This is your 21st episode.
21st episode.
Now you guys are legal.
We are legal. We are broached our 1,000 downloads. We are in multi-continents now.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
we're moving along.
I know. It's been great. So,
I got people on more than one continent that hate me. That's awesome. That know I should go to hell.
Oh, Kirsty.
Everybody's saving up for my ticket.
Oh.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, Carrie, I got to go back to something real quick before we get started.
What's wrong?
Because I like to, I think.
Oh, God, you got that
Can
look
you
in
imagine?
your eye.
Oh, yeah. I was
God.
like, because I remember when we did the naughty or nice episode, and your level of naughty was not
Naughty.
No. If anything, I feel you were a victim to you just trying to do something or get something. And then somebody was like, well, that you can't do that to get rid of that little animal that you saved up for, but you didn't save it. You were creative. I felt that was creative. I don't know.
What'd I do?
Well, I don't know if you did anything, but I'm going to ask you because I know you were a participant in something where other people were doing stuff.
Okay.
You were in the band.
Yes.
I have a little bit of in with this, just a little. Because
Are you talking about the traveling band or the school band?
traveling.
Okay.
Yeah, school band, probably a little naughty there too, but no, I'm not going to go there. This traveling band.
The
Because
travel band. Okay.
You guys used to do band camp.
Yes.
Go away.
Yes.
How long did you used to go away for?
A week.
Just a week?
Yes. And actually the name of that band camp is on the tip of my tongue. Oh, if I stick my tongue out, you might be able to read it.
Right there. Okay. Where did you, it was a specific, was it, we had a campground that a lot of kids went to for camp. It wasn't held there up by Lake Erie.
No. It was actually over, I think this was over like in Brookfield area or somewhere over there. And yeah, it was a camp. I think they had a lot of different types of events or camps there, but we had band camp there. So we would have the cabins that everyone stayed in. And then there was a big field that they would line and mark out like a football field. And that's how we would spend that week learning our marching competition. And then the rest of the summer, we were traveling all over Michigan, Wisconsin.
I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I mean, you didn't practice music all day and night. I mean, you guys had some downtime.
Okay. Yes, we practiced all day, but I think you're probably hoping that I was naughty at night, and I probably wasn't.
I know people were.
Yeah.
I know a participant in the same band camp with you.
What did they
do? What am I allowed? I don't have a nickname for this person yet.
No, but like, what were we supposedly doing that was bad?
Anybody who grew up, I didn't go to camp. Ever. You would think my parents probably should have shipped me off somewhere. They didn't. Because they didn't have to, because they just ignored me anyhow. There was no reason to pay for them to ship me off. They saved their money. Just ignore her. She'll figure out what
Are
to
you
do.
talking like they were sneaking out smoking dope, or they were sneaking out making out, or having sex and stuff?
There's like naughtiness happening at these camps. It's a rampant area of teenagers, just hormones and bullshit.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry to disappoint.
No, come on.
I was too afraid of getting caught. I was so afraid I would get caught. So I was not sneaking out. I was the one who was stuck behind in the cabin while the other 7 people that you shared the cabin with were sneaking out. But I was the one back making sure that, everything looked normal, that there was lights going on and off or whatever.
You didn't even rat anyone out?
Oh, God, no. Because then, oh, my God, you know how bad bullied I would have gotten the whole rest of the summer if I would have tattled on anybody?
Yeah, you got the politics in the camps back then, I guess.
No, my life would have been miserable for that summer. I was already not popular. I didn't need to make myself more unpopular. No.
Well, okay.
Sorry.
Come on.
See, you were so building up that you thought you were going to catch me.
We don't know any of these people. Who knows where they are? Give me you got something. Tell a dirty story about one of them people. They were bad.
Well, I do know that there were people that had slipped some, like they were smoking pot.
Oh, no.
And I do know
that's nothing.
I know.
You could do that at home.
And I do know that there were
naughtiness.
some
These girls and boys getting together doing naughty, disgusting, terrible things.
Oh, yeah. There was sex going on and there was blowjobs being had on the bus.
God, you just said it. On the bus?
On the bus, yes, because we were on a big charter bus and stuff. So yeah, there was that stuff going on.
I know about the bus stories. What the hell?
Yeah. It was. What's funny is the parents were like at the front of the bus and their kids in the back of the bus.
Oh my God.
But not me. I was a good girl.
Where were you?
I was in the bus.
You were in the middle somewhere. That you knew where the parents were, but you also knew what was going on in the back. You were somewhere.
Oh yeah, I knew what was going on, but I was on the drum line. You know what they say, drummers have fast hands, so I knew what was going on everywhere, but I was not partaking and participating.
You're guilty just by association.
Oh, I'm guilty by association. I'll give you that. But I was also smart enough to know this is when the, don't talk about the elephant in the room thing that I grew up with came in handy, because I wasn't about to get my ass kicked and have a horrible summer being bullied because I spoke up and said, hey, flag line girls are getting it on with the drummers in the back here. Come on now. No.
What instrument would you say the participants were the worst? Like, were you saying the drums and the percussion and the flag girls were the sluttiest?
Yes.
Wow. I feel horrible for anybody who's got kids in the band right now listening to this, and they're like, oh no. Well, this was 30 plus years ago, so I'm hoping the logistics of it. Well, I don't really care. I don't know.
But you have children that are going to be like your daughters.
Yeah, they're Well, they're not in band.
Won't let them be.
Well, I try to encourage.
Not after today's episode.
No.
You used to a couple episodes ago, you were touting how wonderful it was for being in a band.
And I don't want to take anything from that, because you got these talented people, and talented people run on a different fuel than regular people.
This is true.
And they have different ways of expressing outlets for that. So, I mean.
Yep.
Yeah, but I do know that I was told that a lot of things happened at these band camps.
Oh, yeah, a lot of things happened. Yeah. But not by me.
Wow.
Sorry.
Okay, I tried.
I know.
No, I'll think of something else in the next few weeks. And we'll come back to that.
But hey, there is something else. Speaking of snapping fingers.
Fingers.
You have a fingers update for us.
I have a fingers update. Mm-hmm. Fingers. I don't know. Maybe she likes fingers and we don't ever have to say what her real name is, but I'd be happy to say, but I have to get permission. Yeah. So right now she's Fingers. Fingers is my friend who I grew up with, who lost her fingernail because of me, who had a bad sprain on her finger because we were playing basketball. And I was really responsible for just totally torturing this poor girl. Got an update from Fingers. Sent me a beautiful picture. She has lovely fingers.
Yes.
All of her nails were accounted for and painted, by the way.
We need to find out from her if we can post that picture so that we can,
If we can, we will post that so everybody is a witness that Fingers survived.
The jury's still out on the mothball girl, though, if she still
has
any
I have no
ill effects
idea.
from the mothball.
I know her name. I will never say it because I have to protect myself. Forget her. I don't know whatever happened to them. They moved away, like I said. Shortly thereafter, they were like, you can't live there because people will make you eat horrible things. Or you're just too stupid to live here. You can't live around these people. They operate at a whole different level.
For sure.
So,
yeah. So it was good. Yeah, we
shout
did
out to Fingers.
Fingers. Thank you so much. And we'll be reaching out to see if we can post those.
We got any
pictures.
other updates?
Well, the only other updates really is, again, we've broached our 1,000th episode. That we're in the Bahamas now, in Bermuda. We're in over 23 states and over 80 cities. So it is growing. Yeah. And I do have to give some shout out to our Bahamian listeners, because I was just recently in the Bahamas and I was working hard. In fact, it should be a write-off my trip, because I was working hard to promote our podcast. Normally when Jim and I go on vacation, we like to, we're kind of like, we don't want to be around people. But I I was so proud of myself. In fact, after the second day, I even said to Jim, I'm like enjoying being a people person right now, because we were working the pool. We were working our way around, talking to people, talking about the podcast. And it was lovely because we met some awesome people and talking about the podcast and what we talk about in life and everything. So I have to give some shout outs.
Yes,
okay.
Let's have them.
To our newest listeners. We met a couple from Austin, Texas, Dan and Regina. It was so funny because we were talking about the Thanksgiving episode, and he has a great tagline to go with "You're the turkey, luckiest person in the room" comment.
Oh, okay.
He said, whenever I go to Thanksgiving dinner, my one aunt, she's always giving me a hard time. And he goes, I said to her the last Thanksgiving, he goes, "What am I, the turkey? I just got here and you're already carving me up."
Ooh.
And I thought that was great.
Very good.
I was like, that's awesome. So he did give me permission for us to use that line here.
That's
so,
a good one.
New listeners, Dan and Regina from Austin, Texas. Thank you for looking us up. It was so cute because we ran into each other at the pool a couple days later, and she goes, "I looked you up. I'm following." So that was great.
Yes. Thank you.
We also met a lovely couple from Manchester, England, Jerry and Lisa. So we are hoping that Jerry and Lisa, once they get back to England, because I think they're still in the Bahamas, that we'll have England on our listening list. Spent the week next to the beach on them. And again, they were a lovely couple. And we talked a lot about the podcast, and she thought it was great, just everything that we talked about. So she was also going to start following us.
Wonderful.
Couple resort people that I need to talk about. So again, we're not getting paid for this. This is not a paid advertisement. So Sandals, I have to give you a shout out, and maybe you'll want to be a promoter for our show, but we stayed at a Sandals resort. We are definitely Sandals frequent flyers, shall you say. And we had a personal driver that was taking us to the resort. And it was so cool because we go out to, Sandals picks you up at the airport. They take you to the resort, and we're walking out, and Jim sees this Rolls Royce, and he's like, "Oh my, I think we're getting in that Rolls Royce." And then this taxi pulls up, and he's like, "Oh, we got the taxi." But then the driver comes out of the Rolls Royce and he picks us up. So we got this Rolls Royce drive to the resort. But the driver, Kino, shout out to Kino, fantastic. I will be posting some videos of Kino because it was hysterical. If you remember, you love TV and stuff like this, so you're going to remember this. Do you remember the old Grey Poupon commercials?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where the chauffeurs in the car and the
very
Rolls
nice
Royce.
vehicle.
Yeah,
the wealthy people.
And they pull up and they're like, "Excuse me, do you have any Grey Poupon?"
Yeah.
So anyways, we get into this Rolls Royce, and the driver, Kino, was like, he holds up a bottle of Grey Poupon. And so we reenacted the Grey Poupon commercial. Now, if anyone knows my husband, he can be kind of quiet.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. I was surprised. I'm impressed and surprised.
Right. So he acted out this Grey Poupon commercial, which was hysterical. But again, shout out to Kino. So he, I think, was actually our first listener that downloaded in the Bahamas.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because I told him about the podcast. He was all excited about it. And that night I saw that the Bahamas popped up on our chain. So
right.
Yeah. So shout out to him. So yeah, the 330 was representing in the 242, which is Nassau. So
wow, look at you with your terminology.
Exactly.
Inner city.
And the last shout out I have to give is we do like the butler services that Sandals provides. And our 3 butlers were Aaron, Breon, and Chanel. And so all of them were absolutely fabulous during our trip. And they said that they would be soon tuning in and listening. So I'm hoping that our Bahamian listeners will grow as the word spreads through all the wonderful people that we met there. So
I'm going to leave that international publicity and selling up to you, my travel buddy.
Yes.
Because I did some selling.
Yes.
To my doctor.
There you go.
Because these are the type of people I see. Because I don't go on vacation. So my life in a doctor. My daughter wanted to get her ears pierced.
Oh, yeah.
I had to take her to that because we had to negotiate. She wanted to pierce her nose. And I said no to that right now. I can't do anything when she turns 18.
Okay.
And I understand the appeal of that. I find the idea of it painful.
Yes.
I know a lot of people have that. I feel we already have 2 holes there. In my personal opinion, you shouldn't have another one. It's a filtration system, and you're corrupting your filtration system. So I said no to the nose piercing, okay? But she wanted to put additional holes in her ears. So I said, okay. I only have one in each ear. I'm old school. She went through the cartilage, though, which is horrible. There's a name for that
I don't
piercing.
know the name, but it is a little painful. So how's she doing? How's it healing up?
She's a trooper. I was lucky with her, but all three of my kids, actually, anytime they had to get vaccinations or shots or anything like that, never a squawk or a cry or a whimper, nothing. I mean, very good, strong kids in that regard. Yeah, lady was like, yeah, this is a good old family business. It was right here in downtown Worcester, and I took her and I said, look, where there's family, there's dysfunction. So, handed out my card. I said, please listen. I haven't got confirmation whether they listen to, although Worcester's been very kind to us.
Yes, they have been.
They listen.
Yes.
And we appreciate that. The good people here in Worcester.
They're our highest city of downloads.
Yeah.
Next to Youngstown.
Well, they probably, because they just know that I'm totally messed up anyhow. They just want to confirm their already knowledge that they know.
I had to say with your daughter getting her ears pierced, that kind of reminded me that was probably one of the naughty things that I did in high school, because my mom had let me pierce my ears. I think when I was 12, I got one, the first piercing. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get them double pierced. And my mother was absolutely not. Like, there was like, one is okay, more than one, no. So I pierced them myself.
Oh my God. No, you didn't.
I did too.
That is so goth.
It was painful.
But back then, wait a minute. That's like self-mutilation.
I know, but I did it, and I hid them for a couple weeks before she noticed.
How did you even, because we didn't even Google stuff back then.
I just took a needle and I did it.
Who told you to do that?
I don't know. Somebody must have told me.
What if you would have hit your ear or some way that you couldn't hear anymore? Like you stabbed.
I wasn't stabbing my eardrum. It was the cartilage, and I just did it there. And then I two wasn't enough, so I wanted to get a third one, and then I did end up getting the cartilage on top. But those I did go to and get done at a shop. But yeah, the second piercings, I think I was a freshman when I did that. I did it myself though. It was so painful.
You had to. Why did I not remember that?
I don't know. Well, because I had them before we met.
Well, then you just had them.
Yeah, I had them. But I just remember taking the ice cube and putting them on my ears to numb it. Oh my so I could push them.
You can do this to yourself. I can't watch any of that kind of stuff. There's a different level of strength and just the ballsiness of doing that to yourself. I don't have. You will definitely be okay. No wonder you travel all over the place. I mean, because right away, I get into a bad situation where I have to try and survive. I'm done. I'm done anyhow. These like apocalyptic movies where there's like dead people who come back to like the dawn of the dead, livings of the dead. I just have to assume I'm done. It's over. Yeah. So I really don't have the stress of even the idea of trying to survive. I just give up. Aww. But that you can stab yourself in the ear just to have a nice second option. Well, it was
my only choice because one, didn't have money. Two, didn't have a ride because my mom would have had to take me. I mean, we lived, where we lived. There was nothing, So so if I wanted that, it was either wait until I had a car to drive or I was going to have to do it myself. So
now, when did she find out you did this?
It was a couple weeks, and my hair was usually short, but it was just long enough to kind of cover my ears. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of they really weren't. I got myself up for school, so I never saw her in the morning. And then by the time she got home at night, and it was only a couple hours, so I somehow got away with it for about 3 weeks.
And then what happened?
I remember her seeing it. I remember her being upset. I remember her not understanding how I got it done. And I don't think she believed me initially when I told her I did it to myself. She was insisting someone had to take me. I'm like, nobody took me. I did it myself.
Right.
And I think I showed her the needle that I used because it was from her quilting box, and it was like all
Mom,
bent.
If you didn't quilt,
it was like all bent and stuff. And I think that's when she finally realized that I really did do it because the needle was all stirred up.
You got some tough earlobes.
It was painful, even though I was using the ice. But yeah,
I can't. I'm like in shock at the whole idea of that. I
commend you for taking your daughter to a shop.
I had to negotiate it, and it's a place that does
tattoos and piercings.
Skin art, I guess you call it, because we evolve with how we describe certain things. Because that's what my understanding is that's the place to go.
That is the place to go.
Because the gun thing is bad.
Yeah.
And if you watch Pulp Fiction, Rosanna Arquette lets you know what she thinks of that gun thing. She's the one with all the shit in her face. Yeah. You remember that line, John Travolta?
Yeah. But that gun thing was basically primitively what I was doing to myself, which is bad. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I had the gun thing. I went to the piercing pagoda in the mall. Yeah. But I was 8 years old.
Wow.
2nd grade. Because I got it for like my first communion.
Yeah.
Because accepting the body of Christ and ear piercing go hand in hand. Gotta have my ears pierced for that. It's a big day.
Oh my God, you're so
yeah. Okay. So, wow. I learned something new about Carrie all the time. I am always amazed.
Remember we talked about how I can be committed on things? Like I can make a commitment. I'm going to do it. I was committed to that.
That was commitment on a different level. You were always amazed that I could follow it. When I put my mind to it, I could starve myself. Right. I could eat horrible things.
I can't do it.
But you're not going to catch me wanting anything bad enough to
no body mutilation.
Damage myself in that manner. No, I pay for the damage. So tell me more about your travels and what you saw while you were out.
Okay. So yes, we do travel a lot. And I just feel like sometimes people nowadays, they don't know how to read the room. Okay. So, all right. You're on an airplane. Like, people have been flying a while now. Like, I know when we grew up, flying was like a privilege and it was very few people did it. But now flying is like driving a car. People fly all the time. It happens all the time. So come on, people, get with the program. I cannot believe that on almost every flight we were on, because it took 2 flights to get to the Bahamas, 2 flights back, that there was people opening up stinky food on the plane.
Explain, please. What is the food?
Well, like this one lady decided to open up pickles. Like, who brings a jar of pickles on
There's a lot worse.
Well,
give me something worse.
Okay.
Because pickles is actually not, in my opinion, so
I love a good pickle. I don't want to smell the pickle in a confined space where I'm now going to have to smell it for 2.5 hours.
Maybe not. Okay.
Then there was the lady who decided she was going to bring a can of bean dip, Frito bean dip.
Ooh, now that's
tortillas.
Disgusting.
And of course, she was sitting right next to me. Now, come on. I love good Mexican bean dip. You saw me when we went to Tacos and Tequila. I love my bean and cheese dip. But again, I'm not going to open it up on a plane and eat it where everyone now has to smell pre-fart food. Okay. So you got the incoming bean dip going in. And by the end of the flight, I'm pretty dang sure it was coming out the other end. Come on, people.
How long are these flights?
Well, the first flight was like 2.5 hours and the second flight was like an hour and 15 minutes.
And we can't just not eat
it. Thank you. And the first flight was at 5 a.m. Okay. Now, granted, on the first flight out, we had a lot of kids on the plane, but we were going to Disney because we were going to Orlando. So most of the flight was families going to there. And at first I thought, oh, this is going to be horrible because in the terminal waiting to get on the plane, the kids, it was chaos. But I think by the time they got on the plane, they were all like coming down off of the high. Right. And so they all crashed. So it was like the quietest flight. But again, why do we need to eat pickles and bean dip on a flight at 5 a.m. to Orlando? Yeah. Like, come on, people. It's not a lunch flight. So like that, I have an issue with. I really had an issue. Then there was the lady who decided to peel an orange and have an orange on the flight. Okay, here's what I got with oranges. It's a great fruit. It's wonderful to eat. Love the taste. Love when it's squeezed into made orange juice. But I have a problem when people decide that is the carry-on fruit, the fruit to go. Because they're peeling all the peels. So their hands are getting all nasty.
Yeah.
Now you're on a plane. You have touched things. And now you're going to touch your food and peel all that. It
requires a lot of hand. Yeah.
Yes. And then all these orange peel pieces just everywhere. All over, falling on the aisle, falling on the floor. And again, I have to smell it. Now, trust me, I would much rather smell an orange than the bean dip and the pickles, but still, like, come on, really?
Wow.
I just have an issue with it. So
these people obviously are starving.
I know. I didn't need to eat the whole time
They
there.
obviously don't eat to save up to travel. Is that what it takes? And then all of a sudden they're like, well, because none of these seem like high end. Like nobody's bringing lobster and
No. I mean, yeah. So I don't understand like what the thought process of, I'm going to get on a plane. Let me take bean dip and a bag of tortillas. I don't get that. But yeah, so there's the whole food thing on the plane with the stinky food and then the hands. And then you got sticky hands from the orange and the sticky. I don't get it. But then here's the other thing. Okay. So I've mentioned before that my husband and I have trained service dogs for people with disabilities. We're volunteer puppy raisers for a national organization. So the service dog thing is big for us. Right. Okay. Okay, have to take a breath. These people, this is coming. The people that try to take their pets on a plane and try to pass them off as a service dog, it's out of hand. I mean, I'm glad after the peacock situation that they've at least said only dogs, and now they've eliminated the people trying to take an alligator, a peacock, whatever, tarantula, and it can't be a service. Like, I'm glad that we've made that leap. But we still have this issue with people traveling with dogs on a plane. Now, I have traveled both with a service dog in training and with pet dogs. I've traveled both ways. Legally. If I travel with my pet dog, I put it in the carrier. It's a pet dog. I pay my fee. I'm not trying to tell anybody that my pet dog is a service dog. Okay. Right. But we had this one guy, he was on the tram going from the terminal to the, like where you come into the airport, you have to go to the gate. And he had this all labeled up, service dog, service dog, service dog. This poor dog was shaking so bad. He was terrified. The guy had to be his emotional support person because the dog was terrified. And it just was like, oh my God, people, I don't get it. It frustrates me.
It seems to be an occurrence that has happened a lot over the last maybe 10 years or so, where we've seen, and I don't raise service dogs. I have dogs. Mm-hmm. Dogs are my pet of choice, my whole life pretty much. And we've seen these people out in, grocery stores, regular stores, restaurants with dogs. They're not service dogs. Right. You can just tell. Service dogs are trained a certain way, which I know you can totally speak of. A service dog is trained not to bark at people. We've been in situations where we've been in a store and the dog is barking at everybody. Mm-hmm. One dog took a dump in the store and they had to come clean it up. And I know service dogs are generally trained to just basically be there to help with what they're doing with their owner. And that's that. And you love your animal so much you have to bring them. But I would ask you to think that you don't really love your animal because of the stress.
Right. Who are you doing it for? You're not doing it. You're doing it for you and not the pet.
Yeah. They don't want to be in these situations. I mean, no. Do I know what the animal's thinking? No. Right. I'm not an animal psychologist or mind reader or anything, but they're very stressed. I think it puts a lot of stress on your animal. And
when they're not raised and trained properly. Yes.
No, absolutely, because they're not trained to be in those type of situations. A service dog is trained to be in those type of situations. Yes. And the other thing too is, don't you want a break? I mean, did you buy an animal so horrible that you can't leave it for an hour or two? By the kennel, and I understand some animals. We had a dog that had separation anxiety. You had to just sort of play around with what your options were to sort of be able to live your life. Yeah. Because this was like over 20 some years ago when we had our first dog together, my husband and I. And that wasn't even on our radar that we would be able to take our dog to the grocery store. We assumed we'd just get kicked, right? I mean, we didn't even think of that. I know. You go to the grocery store, you want to go to the grocery store. I don't want to deal with my dog at the grocery store. I love my dog, but this ain't dog time for me. This is food time. I'm shopping.
It's all about you, Chrissy.
That's right. I got to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
But see, here it goes on the other thing too, is I have to commend, it's okay. So the traveling with the kids. So, I'm very picky about which children I like. I love my grandchildren. There's some kids that I really like, but in general, I find it difficult to be around children. And I realize it's not the children, it's the parents. That's why, because the parents aren't parenting the children. So like at the airport, one of the things that was happening with this one family is their kids were running around and they're leaning on these things that literally said, do not lean. And they were like getting ready to wobble over and stuff. stuff. And so the worker came over and said to the parents, she goes, hey, please don't let your children lean on that. It says do not lean because it's going to fall.
Right.
And the parents looked at her and went, oh, the sign's fine. They just weren't getting it. It's like, oh my gosh. But I have to say though, I do commend parents that travel and they don't let having kids stop them from traveling. And those are the parents that I really have to commend. So like my niece, for one, her and her husband, they have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. They travel all over the world. I cannot even tell you how many countries they've been to in the past year.
With their children.
With their children. They each have their little backpack. They hardly take, they carry on luggage, a little backpack. But her kids, they know how to travel. They are good because they've been exposed to it. They've been properly trained on it. So it's just like the dog, like if your dog is raised a certain way, then it can know how to handle this. People weren't parenting. So on, like at the airport, you got these kids running around and they're running through these crowds. And like, all I can think of is if I was a kid my age doing that, my parents would have been like, oh, someone's going to grab you. Like, don't let your kids run away. You might get taken. His parents, they're letting them run around. I'm thinking like the tram is right there. Somebody could grab your kid. And not only
but
that.
Does the person really want that kid? Aren't you usually looking for one that's not going to give you too much of a problem? Right. It's horrible. It's horrible to think about it. You want to protect all children, not just the quiet ones that are sitting behaving. Yeah, the crazy ones too. Yeah, and yes, nobody's thinking. I'm just making a joke. I know, but it is. People have the right to parent. That's their children. Yeah. The whole thing is when you're I won't call you a victim of this situation, but when you have to be participating in something that requires you're exposed to these type of people, they have the right to parent or not parent the way we think you should be. Yes. Then you kind of maybe just decide on your own if you're going to do that again. Yeah. Now you are going to do it again.
Oh yeah, we're traveling. Right.
I've been exposed to going to a restaurant because this is my only level of having to generally deal with people with children in inappropriate places, in my opinion. You go out to eat, usually in a restaurant that's not, there's restaurants that you of course expect to see families. Yeah. And then there's restaurants where you're like, well, probably, families of course, anybody can eat. But usually the time that you choose to go out to eat, the type of menu that's being presented to you, the expense of the restaurant, you generally find that you're probably not going to see a lot of families with children there. Yeah. But once in a while you get these people who gather, and my luck has always been that I'm getting sat right next to these crazies. And, it's very hard for me, if you've been listening at all, or if you're sitting across from me because you're Carrie, or you're sitting next to me because you're DJ Nick who's stuck with me. It's very hard for me to put a game face on. Oh, yeah. Well, that was as soon as we got on the one plane, it was, pick your own seats. So we sat down, and then all of a sudden this family came behind, and this was one of the kids that was running around being uncontrolled. And immediately the kid starts kicking the seat, and my husband looks at me and goes, oh no. And so we got up and we moved to a different seat because and the whole flight, the kid was kicking the seat. And it's like, come on, people. Come on, people. Read the room. But anyways, those are my traveling woes. But the only other thing I will say is that you hear these people, they're loud, they talk, they do everything. My whole problem, real quick, is sometimes the quiet people, which is who you want. You want quiet people, quiet people who sit there and are just listening. Whenever I'm exposed to a group of people and there's a quiet person in the bunch, I question right away what's wrong with them. And I usually have to talk to one of the other participants in the party who maybe knows that person a little bit better than I do. And I'll say, they're so snobby. What's their problem? They don't participate. And right away I get the excuse, but they're quiet. That's just how they are. They're really great, but they're quiet. My statement now is my opinion, but I'm going to make it. They're not nice. Oh. They're quiet because they're thinking too much. They're taking in what you're saying. And they're plotting, and it's not good. It's a bad situation. So I would say beware of quiet people. They're nice. They're just quiet. They're so shy. What are you shy about? What did you do? What did you do? That now all of a sudden you've clammed up. I bet it wasn't something that good. So watch out for the quiet people. Yes, you want to sit next to them. And I do want you to be quiet sometimes, especially when I'm trying to tell you about me. But there's a place and time for quiet. And it's not when I'm in a group with you. You better.
Unless if you're on an airplane, you can be quiet.
You can be quiet, I guess. Yeah. Again, that's your thing. You want the quiet people, and they're probably not going to do anything horrible while you're on the plane.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. Quiet. Watch out for them quiet people kicking seats. Not the ones that don't kick the seat. I would question. What are you doing over there in the corner? I haven't heard one thing from you. Speak up.
Oh, Chrissy, you never cease to amaze me. Your views on life.
Yeah, they're all bad.
Well, what we do want to hear from this, we really do want to hear everyone's feedback. We want to hear what you're thinking about. What are you being quiet about?
Yeah.
Or what are you talking loudly about?
Yeah. Or what's your travel horror stories or your support pet stories out there?
So definitely check us out on our Facebook page. Let us know what you're thinking and what you're hearing, or you could email us. Also, if you are enjoying our show, please feel free to go to our website, dysfunctionjunkies.buzzsprout.com. And you can hit that donation button and help us to continue to make podcasting come to you from Dysfunction Junkies.
Yes, please. And thank you.
All righty. We'll see you all next week.
Have a great day, everybody.